Hello and welcome back to Visual Reasoning for ProAV, Module 5. We're talking about native AI onboard iOS and Android devices. So this is on-device visual reasoning. I've got my iPhone in front of me. Whether you've got an iOS device or an Android device, we're going to be showing you how to use visual reasoning directly on your phone. So I have a little NDI screen capture of this phone so you can see it really nice and beautiful. And then I also just wanted to show the phone here as well so you can see this app. We're going to jump right into the app, and then I'm going to kind of pop the hood and show you what's underneath it because it is super exciting. So let's jump right into it. This app here has a lot of different tools on it. So I want to show that sidebar again as we go through this so that you can see it nice and clear. So essentially, this has all the visual reasoning kind of experimental tools that we've talked about in the GitHub and put them on iOS. And it allows us to kind of toggle between cloud tools and onboard AI, right? There's AI chips that have been shipping with these iOS and Android devices for years. In fact, I looked it up. iOS has been shipping these neural engines since 2017. So like 9 years, almost a decade worth of shipping phones. So I just want to show you kind of like the most basic visual reasoning, just taking an image like this and just kind of reasoning like what's inside of this image. Okay, there's a coffee table. That's great. Okay, there is a partially visible large blue artwork. Now, one of the cool things is we can tap that artwork and it'll actually kick off an auto track. And so what that does is it'll automatically start tracking that object. And you can see it's actually moving the PTZ camera because this is designed to not only work with PTZ cameras, but also to work with like your native phone, right? So I can literally kind of point this at whatever I want, really. I'm looking around the studio here and get descriptions of what is going on in a scene. That's kind of like the basis of visual reasoning. Oh, we've got a large circular thing here. I'm going to tap that, and you'll see it will actually start to use the onboard engine to track that. And there's some like kind of things I need to improve with this app still. So by the time you get it, it might be a little different than the way it is now. But this is how it works. And this is kind of like a basic scene description. So I want to go over some of these tools, how they work, because it's a beautiful blend of basically onboard AI and cloud AI. So one of my favorite features is actually the chat feature. So I'll switch back to our PTZ camera. It has a bit of a wider angle here. And you can kind of start to do a lot of these things directly through chat. So you can chat with the AI. It's actually talking to me. I don't think you guys can hear that yet. But you can start to kind of talk to it and say, oh, okay, red desk, armchair. So you can kind of like see what it's seeing. And that's great, right? Now, in every single tool, there's a little I button there. And so what that does, it describes what AI is being used. So you can see here, we're using Apple Vision, we're using YOLO V8, and we're using Moondream. These are different types of AI, and it explains all that to you. You know a lot about this from the course already, but Apple Vision is the onboard AI here. And then Android, if you're using the Android version of this app, has similar tools that we'll talk about today. Another cool tool using visual reasoning is an AI photographer. So what I'll do is I'll flip the camera here and kind of show you how this works. So I'll go ahead and set it up for smile and peace sign and go ahead and hit start watching. So just to show this feature off, I'm just going to wave. Hey! And it takes a picture. So the cool thing is taking pictures here. You can see these pictures in the gallery there. And so it's kind of like an AI photographer. Again, all of these will show and explain what's going on and how it works. Okay, now another really cool one is called Detect All Objects. And the reason why we put this one in is because I want to show you the difference between YOLO, this is all of the onboard AI. This does not go into the cloud at all. And sometimes you don't want to go into the cloud for privacy purposes. And then we have one that does use the cloud AI. Takes a little longer, as you can see. and it actually comes up with a completely different list of things that it sees. So it's a really great way to, as you can see, it's a little bit more information coming in from Moondream, but again, all educational, all explained in here, how it all works. One that I really like is the color matcher feature. And what this does is it allows us to analyze the scene, get an idea of the brightness. So it looks like the brightness is a little low here. Saturation's a little low. So we can actually have AI suggest a color. This is saying, hey, try the news corporate style. So I can actually just, there's a whole bunch here that we could go after. Let's try the news corporate style. And look, it actually lightens up and changes the color of the scene directly into the PTZ camera. Now let's go back to neutral. I don't want to screw up what Mike already has here, but you can see here that you can start to change and adjust color and get recommendations from the AI about how to color match your cameras. And we can make that better and better over time. Now, another really cool one, first of all, you can definitely control your PTZ camera, right? So we've got some PTZ controls here. And I want to show you the object tracking. We did a little bit of that earlier, but I want to show this to you a little more here. So one of the things we'll do is we'll look at a couple of the PTZ functions that I think are really cool. One is called object tracking. I have this set up to track the man in the blue shirt. So you can see there, it'll track me. I've noticed that I need to turn the speed down quite a lot. I'm still kind of tuning some of this stuff, but let's see here. Track the man in the blue shirt. Boom. Centers it right on me, right? So you can track custom objects like man in blue shirt or tons of different dogs, cats, sports, horses, balls, things like that, all built in here. And again, all explained for you so that you can really play around with this and get an idea of what it's capable of. Now, in addition, one of my favorites that is the time lapse. You can do a motion time lapse here. So that's a really cool feature. And then I want to show the hunt and find. I'm going to kick off a hunt and find and show you what this does. It takes about 15 minutes. So I'm only going to kick it off and then explain it really quickly. First, I'll explain kind of what it did here. So this is what it did. So I'll kick one off in a second here, but I just did one in the studio. Essentially what it does is it goes out and it basically takes 9 presets of your entire space, and then it essentially marks them all here. Once it does that, it takes a picture of certain things in your that are exciting in your space and creates presets for them. So you can imagine that you can go into this hunt and find. It will find like the top 100 things that it found in your scene that's around it, and it turns those into PTZ presets. So you can actually use a voice command to zoom into them. So I can literally say, hey, zoom into the exit sign. That might work, that might not work. Scanned objects, found the key exit sign, and then it will actually, boom, it just zoomed into the exit sign. So like literally, it's a really valuable situation there with hunt and find. And then I wanted to show you the time-lapse feature as well. You can do a motion time-lapse with zoom ramping, all this cool stuff. So that's enough of the app. It's available for iOS and Android. It's totally free. If you're using a lot of API calls, we've built in a free usage tier, and then you can buy more credits as needed. So that's how that works with iOS, native app, native phone versus PTZ phone, all integrated into a visual reasoning. So you can, now let's kind of consider this in the course now about why it's important to be thinking about mobile and iOS compute. So the learning objectives here, what you're going to learn is when to use cloud models versus on-device processing. And we'll talk about latency for live production in ProAV. We'll talk about privacy, especially for like youth sports, education, worship, healthcare. We'll talk about privacy, and then offline usage and bandwidth constrained environments are really where this type of mobile compute shine. And then we'll talk a little bit about API costs and how we can kind of reduce them. In a way, your smartphone is a visual reasoning laboratory. We can literally combine on-device and cloud reasoning together, creating fallback strategies, creating edge processing opportunities, and really refining how we use the cloud. And that's a really exciting piece of this. So On-device AI really matters, especially for broadcast and live streaming where we need super low latency. The case for edge intelligence is essentially that these new smartphones have so much processing on them. Why not use it in cases where we need it? And in broadcast and streaming and ProAV, milliseconds really do matter. And sometimes the cloud it takes too long. Half a second is too long when we can be processing on device in literally 30 to 60 frames a second, okay? The cloud requires internet where the iOS app can go, totally mobile, right? We can go anywhere and we can keep the data local. So if we're in healthcare, if it needs a HIPAA compliant environment, or there's many, many people who do not want to send all of their data across the cloud, we can build on-device AI to do that. All the new phones, and wait, a lot of older phones too. Believe it or not, Apple has been shipping iPhones with neural engines, the A11 Bionic chips, since iPhone X. That's since 2017. It's crazy. Your iPhone or Android probably has access to this. You can download these apps for free. It's just an important part of this visual reasoning course. It's a total experimental playground. It works with your PTZOptics cameras, and it has 10 fun and educational tools. So one of the really cool things about iOS Core ML, which is built into the chips, it's native, right? So it doesn't require as much processing because it's built into the native core of iOS. And then Android, of course, has their own TensorFlow tools as well. It can provide real-time camera feed processing. It's optimized for the iOS and iPad hardware. It has a vision framework integrated. And then Android has the same Android ML kit and the TensorFlow Lite. It's Google's version of basically Apple Core. It works for the Android. It works with the brand new Camera 2 API. And this allows us to kind of build a app and then change the native toolkits that we use. So for example, your business logic, like your app or your visual reasoning tools that you're building, you build those once for Android or iOS, and then the only thing you really need to switch is the native toolkits that you're using so that you can take advantage of these AI chips that are on board. Now, when we are building for private environments, there's nothing better than a smartphone in some cases because it's private. It's your personal device. It is literally locked down to you. It has private compute. It has local storage. It's controlled by a single user. And so it can be very private. And that's why healthcare organizations love these iPads and Apple's security and Android security opportunities. It's COPPA compliant for youth applications. It's GDPR compliant, and it has privacy advantages there. There's audit trails and data governance that you can put into these apps. So it's a lot better than just software rolling out there sometimes in like Windows and Mac environments. Now, when we work on mobile, we have to decide how much can these devices are small. They're incredibly powerful, but we need to decide, are we going to use pre-trained models or are we going to create our own custom models? And there's a lot of pre-trained models. When we looked at the detect all objects, we were using pre-trained YOLO models. These models have different sizes and performance trade-offs. So we have to think about that, and we got to figure out how do we optimize for these. And we can actually use vision transformers on these mobile devices to leverage these models. So I wanted to do a quick little deep dive. I know we looked at this already. I'm going to just pull up my phone and show a couple of these real quick. One of them is the ability to detect all objects. These are YOLO models, okay? So it's always explained in that little iOS actually area. In fact, the object tracking is a great opportunity here. These are all the models, that 80 plus models that can track it up to 30 frames per second that are built into the phone, okay? So those do not, you can track a giraffe without having to hit the cloud, right? So lots of really cool opportunities. And I built this in directly to the app because, I want to give you guys an example of not having to use the cloud for everything, to have a free option that can really just track and do whatever we need to do. So let me just zoom in up here real quick to our little scene that has a little bit more to look at. And now what we'll do is we'll kick off one of these detect all objects. We can see that it's got quite a lot going on, right? And that's using these built-in models. Doesn't hit the cloud at all. If you want to see what the cloud will do, we can go ahead and get a scan from the cloud. It takes a lot more. Oh my gosh, look at that. We're getting tons of stuff here. we're getting a person, we're getting a plant. So we get more. The cloud is more powerful, right? But it has to hit the cloud. We have to have internet, and it costs money to use. So again, educational tool showing you the differences between these two systems here. So I wanted to do that quickly to show you how we have like 80 different classes of objects that we can detect running entirely on the built-in neural engine, in this case on iOS, in TensorFlow on Android. 30 milliseconds per frame, that's 30 frames per second with no internet required. Now, we talked a little bit about PTZ control. This allows you to have the auto tracking run on your phone. So you can use a camera that doesn't have built-in auto tracking, and you can give it auto tracking. You can zoom into the subject. You can automatically frame subjects. And it's really, really powerful. Works with any Visca over IP PTZ camera. Now, using the visual reasoning camera app, similar to the open source visual reasoning GitHub, but it's optimized for mobile. So these apps use the native modules, so they're compiled and built completely for mobile. Whether you're using Apple or Android, it will work really, really well. And this allows us to test cloud versus local, compare accuracy and speed, think about real-world scenarios, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much, I know I've actually kind of rambled quite a lot here. It's really exciting to me. The key takeaways are on-device AI, you get the speed and you get the privacy that you don't get when you're using the cloud. This hybrid approach, though, what you're seeing here, think about the hybrid approach where we're using the cloud for the first detection, and then we're using the neural engine built onto the iOS app here to continue tracking. So there's a lot of use cases where the hybrid approach really wins. Smartphones are now serious tools, so don't estimate the power of pocket computing. It's literally right there in front of you to track objects and really, really get great levels of control from automation of ProAV and broadcast. And experimentation is key. That's why we're doing this. Literally, this is all going to change in a year. Technology is moving faster than ever. Experiment with it, learn how to use it, and don't be, blown away. Don't get worried about so much AI. Just kind of understand the core concepts, and then we're going to be able to do a lot with it. So congratulations on completing Module 5. Next, we're going to talk about AI-assisted framing and color matching. I will see you in the next one. Great job. We are cooking through our visual reasoning online course.